tell you to stop being
We
united.
had stopped that prior to coming back.
Yes, little by little, the Clear Channel stations were splitting off. You know, at the time of this thing, I've told people before, if you combine all the radio stations, which was virtually every station that had a signal in New Orleans at the time, everybody listening on the internet, on all the streaming feeds, there had to be at the peak of this a listenership of millions, I would think. But over time, it became obvious that, okay, we've got to get back to what we do. And in the case of our music stations, that's playing the music, you know.
People probably wanted to go back to normal in a sense, and, you know, to not constantly be hearing.
Right. But, you know, it's not like you abandoned hurricane information. We're still supplementing that and doing a lot more. But people, you know, if you're a WNOE listener, you want to hear Tim McGraw. If you're a 93 listener, you want to hear Lil Wayne. I mean, it's part of the recovery process. And after a few weeks, you had to move back to that. So by the time we physically moved back here, all of our stations had split off. So there really was no reason to remain, for one thing. I don't know, we get FEMA representatives on the phone all the time, and we're telling them things that they don't know. Particularly when it came to the aid stations. I remember two specific examples of, all right, let's go to, you know, our local FEMA representative who's calling up and, you know, and he's saying, well, you know, you need to go to, it was a particular location that was only giving FEMA aid, allowing people to apply to residents of that area. Well, I tell the FEMA rep that, and he goes, no, that's not the way it works. Anybody can go and sign up. And I'm like, yes, but we have had 10 calls from people telling us that is what they are doing at this location. And, well, okay, we'll check into that and see what happens. But that was an illustration that oftentimes, because we had the official people and we had people who were actually there calling in, that we usually, not usually, but frequently knew more than they did about what their own people were doing. And in that case, that wasn't FEMA doing that. That was some local Yahoo.
I think being busy and being in this business and having so much to do immediately following kind of didn't give you that time to sit around and just watch the TV, for me anyway. You know, like my friends and people that live down here constantly were upset and crying, and like I've stayed so busy that I didn't dwell on the fact that, you know, I mean, I'm sure y'all, because of course you hear it and you know it's going on around you, but just the mere fact of staying busy and having something to focus on rather than just constantly thinking about, you know, my house is gone, people's houses are gone, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, obviously it was traumatic, and you're wondering about people that you know. And, you know, I have my 5-year-old son telling me he had a dream that a tree fell on his friend. You know, I mean, it's stuff like that. But at the same time, I think from the on-air perspective, in pretty short order, it became obvious that, you know, if you were ever going to do anything professionally, you will never have more attention on you and your work and what you're doing than it is now. Is it a tragedy? Do you wish it doesn't happen? Of course. But at the same time, it is an opportunity. And, you know, the more that you can do things positively to help the community, to be on the air. I mean, you know, people don't get into radio or media at all because, to begin with, because they're shrinking violence. I mean, you know, you want to be out there, and you know you're going to have attention, and that played a big part of it. You know, it doesn't balance it out, of course. You wish the thing never happened, but yet you try to use it in as positive a way, both for you personally and for the greater good as you can.
This was actually the first time I'd ever had to evacuate for a hurricane, because I'd only lived in New Orleans since April, so 4 or 5 months, and woke up Saturday morning, and my roommate's from Homa, so they evacuate all the time. She was like, look, my dad said, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here, go somewhere. And we beat all the traffic. I mean, it was very painless for me. I went to my parents, prepared to stay, like you said, a couple of days and come back. So, I mean, I literally brought one bag of clothes and stuff, and then you don't end up coming back for months and months. You know, it just kind of, I don't really know. You know, I guess you didn't know I didn't know till the news started telling you, you know, the levees broke and worse and worse and worse and worse.
I knew it was bad that Saturday. I mean, all you had to do was watch the television. I remember calling, as I'd been here since Saturday morning, and again, we didn't evacuate to Baton Rouge till Sunday, but I would call my wife at the time and I said, this is a different deal. You need to get out. And I really think the number of false alarms that we had was part of the reason that you had so many people that stayed. They figured it's just and even if it does hit us, the only things, there was a confidence, I think, in the levee system. I mean, people, the old timers were called the flooding from Betsy, but we've got levees now. We didn't have it then. That's why we have levees now. But, we'd been hearing from the Corps of Engineers for a decade that this was possible, and it didn't take a storm of particular magnitude to make it happen. But I guess to answer your question, for me, it was that Saturday, late Saturday, when it finally struck home that, this is the one.